Uh, it's a warm, sunny day in Nairobi, and we'd like to welcome our distinguished guests, speakers, coordinators, and participants to this webinar. Thank you for making time to join us and also accepting to participate in this particular webinar. My name is Maureen Mambo, and I'm the Director in charge of the Nation Brand Development, Marketing, and Communications at the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency. I'll be your moderator today, so welcome. Before I begin, I would like to request Gertrude Mirobi to start us up or lead us with a word of prayer. Karibu, Gertrude.
Let us pray. Our Father in heaven, we come before you this morning. We thank you for the gift of life and for the gift of good health. As we start this webinar, we pray that you may be with us, that you may guide us, and that we may have discussions that will be able to benefit Kenyan exporters. For this I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Gertrude, for that prayer. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day in Kenya, and also our guests from South Africa. I will be introducing who we have on board in the next few minutes, but allow me to provide a little brief about what this webinar is about. And this is the African Continental Free Area webinar, which is themed A New Era of Trading, a Case of South Africa Market. The CFTA is a landmark agreement creating a single market for over 1.3 billion people with a combined GDP of 3.4 trillion US dollars. And this agreement integrates three major regional economic communities, that is COMESA, EAC, and SADC, covering over 29 member states with 800 million people having a combined GDP of over 1.88 trillion US dollars, representing 53% of AU membership. So one of the greatest objective, which now forms part of what we are discussing today, is creating a single market for goods and services facilitated by movement of persons to deepen the economic integration of the African continent as enshrined in Agenda 2063. There are more objectives that you can be able to look on the AfCFTA website and just get to understand what some of these objectives are. And also part of those objectives will be discussed by our facilitators. And someone is saying they can't hear me. Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Thank you, Tobias. Thank you. Okay, so let me proceed. So to build on this knowledge and the work that is and has been done to promote CFTA among various markets, we set out to understand what opportunities are out there in the markets under this agreement. We began with the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, earlier this year, and we have continued to explore other markets in Africa, bringing information closer to you, our exporters. We want to wind up 2024 with South Africa, another very key market with an array of opportunities to leverage on. So with me today, we have the Kenyan ambassador to South Africa, Embassy in Pretoria, Her Excellency Ambassador Jen Ndurumo, the Deputy Ambassador, Ambassador Sonia Ore. We also have the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency CEO, Ms. Floyce Mukabana, the acting CEO, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, Mr. Tobias Orlando, various trade facilitation and support agencies who I will introduce individually as they take their slot later on the webinar. We shall be delving into various topics of discussion related to our theme of the day, what I said, the AfCFTA, A New Era of Trading, a Case of the South African Market. But before I call upon our CEO to make her remarks and climate setting, allow me to request you, our participant, to go into the chat section and please tell us your name, your role, the organization you represent, and if you're exporting, also let us know what you are exporting and where you're exporting. I will be reading these as we proceed and recognizing participants that are in the house. If you have any questions relating to the topic of the day or presentations by the speakers or the market opportunities, kindly also drop them in the chat section and our able technical team will be at hand to respond to you as we proceed. Also, as we proceed at the end and also as we continue, you will see a pop-up survey on your screens. Kindly fill in the short survey to help us support you better. We are also on live on YouTube, and you can get us on Make It Kenya channel. We are also on social spaces, that is X, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Make It Kenya. And our hashtag today is hashtag AfCFTA. Kindly follow us and let's have this conversation trending today. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Floyce Mukabana, who is the CEO, Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, to make her opening remarks and set the climate for this webinar. Welcome, Madam Floyce.
Thank you very much, Maureen and team. Thank you very much, participants to this webinar. At the offset, allow me to just beg your indulgence and allow me to speak without the video on, because this webinar found me at work. I am actually on a site visit to a factory in China, a Chinese factory in Kenya. And because of that, I'll beg your indulgence that my video will not be on. Allow me then to come to my formal speech. And I want to begin by acknowledging the presence of our Kenyan High Commissioner to South Africa, Her Excellency Ambassador Jane Durumo. I also want to acknowledge the presence of the CEO of Kenya's Association of Manufacturers, Mr. Tobias Orlando, representative from Kenya Revenue Authority, Stephen Tioni. Good to see you again. Representative from the Kenya Bureau of Standards, Veronica Kibengea. Representative from the Kenya Trade Network Agency, Ms. Evelyn Omaye, as well as from Kenya Industrial Property Institute, that's Conchela Were. Our esteemed stakeholders, my colleagues from Keproba, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to this important webinar titled the AfCFTA, an era of trading, a case for South African market. We gather today at a pivotal moment in Africa's economic history. The African Continental Free Trade Area stands as a beacon of hope and transformation for the African economies. With 54 signatories and 48 ratifications, the AfCFTA is more than an agreement. It is a powerful instrument of economic liberalization. Today's webinar is not just a discussion. It's a strategic dialogue about turning these ambitious goals into tangible economic opportunities for Kenyan businesses in the South African market. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me at the outset to recognize in a special way the presence of our keynote speaker, Kenya High Commissioner to South Africa, Her Excellency Ambassador Jane Durumo. I also note and appreciate the support from our key stakeholders from private sector, particularly the Kenya Association of Manufacturers and our partner government agency, that is the Kenya Revenue Authority, the Kenya Bureau of Standards, Kentrade, Kenya Bureau of Kenya Industrial Property Institute, just to name a few. Ladies and gentlemen, the objectives of these webinars are to avail a comprehensive information about South Africa markets and the opportunities for Kenyan enterprises to exploit. This will address the challenge of limited information, low awareness of AfCFTA markets, which restricts enterprises' ability to leverage on opportunities. Scheduled presentations will further address this concern. To enhance our market presence in South Africa, currently we aim to move from being a minor trading partner to establishing a more significant economic foothold. South Africa is a key economic hub in Africa, representing tremendous potential for Kenyan businesses. To identify and address challenges impeding Kenyan companies from accessing the South African market. Ladies and gentlemen, with both Kenya and South Africa being active participants of the AfCFTA guided trade initiative, we are all positioned to leverage our existing cordial diplomatic and economic ties to trade more with each other. Our market research indicates strong potential for Kenyan products in South Africa, including value-added black tea, cut flowers, coffee, macadamia nuts, among others. I'm happy to inform our esteemed participants that the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency is collaborating with our embassies and our regulators to support Kenyan enterprises to export within the AfCFTA market and address any emerging issues. I urge all participants to take advantage of this resource, of the resource persons who have brought together this webinar. Get all the opportunities you need to take advantage of the opportunities of that AfCFTA presents. We strive to foster collaborations and partnerships with regulators, embassies, and KEPROBA to facilitate your export agenda within the African continent and beyond. KEPROBA will continue to endeavor in partnership with our trade facilitation agencies to provide our exporters with additional information on export opportunities, export trade training, market intelligence and research, output sharing, and market linkages. I also invite the business community here to register on our e-portal platform and link with our prospective buyers and sellers. The e-portal will enhance our brand visibility. Visit www.makeitkenya.go.ke for more information, including registering for the Made in Kenya mark of identity for free for companies with locally manufactured products and services that qualify for the mark. At this point, it is my pleasure to introduce Kenya's High Commission to the Republic of South Africa, Her Excellency Madam Jane Durumo. Ambassador Durumo brings a wealth of diplomatic experience and expertise in fostering international trade, relations, and economic cooperation. Her presence here today underscores the importance of the strategic partnership between Kenya and South Africa in leveraging the opportunities presented by AfCFTA. Karibu, Madam Balozi. Thank you very much. As we wait for Madam Balozi, maybe I'd also encourage comments from and chats from participants who are here about the expectations, just as our able moderator had mentioned, and we look forward to getting Madam online.
Okay, thank you, CEO. Maybe first, as we await the ambassador to join, maybe I can be reading some of the participants that have joined us. I can see a lot of them have gone to our chats. They're discussing, actually just sharing where they're from. We have Rabera Kenyanya, Head of Operations, Kenya Biovax Institute, Export Product and Development is Human Vaccines and Biologics. Thank you so much, Rabera. We have Kamau Mbarire from Jungle Harvest Limited, exporting fresh herbs and roasted coffee. Karibu sana, Mr. Kamau. Mona Mosi from Virgil Group, the stand as a stalwart in the realm of conformity assessment and inspection, proudly serving in Saudi Arabia with our accolades extending to being recognized by SASO. Yes, so thank you so much for that. We have Dr. Samson Mchelule, CEO of the Kenya Veterinary Association, Nairobi. Karibu sana, CEO. Shashi Ravanda, CEO Twiga Stationers, exporting to East Africa, Ethiopia, Malawi, Madagascar, Mauritius, and so on. Is there ambassador on? I proceed. Okay, so we proceed. Lawrence Sogola from Bryson Express Limited, Karibu sana. We deal with tea exports to various countries. And finally, Joy Ochuka, Head of Marketing and Communications, Michelle and Court Strait Group, Karibu sana. Allow me to just take a minute and consult with my team about the next speaker as we prepare to proceed. Okay, so we've been guided as we await the ambassador to come in. I would like to call upon the Deputy Ambassador, Sunya Ore, Deputy High Commissioner, to make his remarks. Karibu, Ambassador.
Good morning, colleagues and our listeners. Both my ambassadors have challenges. We are working on this. On that, we'll be back shortly. Give us at least 1-2 minutes and then we'll be back. Thank you.
So Jackie, can you proceed and make your presentation then?
I can see Ambassador Jane is requesting you unmute her microphone, please.
Jackie, kindly, we can't see her in the meeting. So the ambassador has finally joined us. Karibu sana. Sorry for the technical hitches that you experienced. Ambassador Jane Dorumo, the floor is yours.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can. Yes,
Yes,
we can hear you, Ambassador.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for that. We had a small problem here, but now we've been able to solve it.
Okay.
Yes.
Kindly proceed with your remarks.
Yes, the Chief Executive Officer, Keproba, Madam Florence Mukabana, Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners who may have joined us, officials from various government agencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure this morning to take part in this very important sensitization webinar on trade and investment opportunities available under the African Continental Free Trade Area, with specific emphasis to the Republic of South Africa. At the outset, allow me to express my deep appreciation to Keproba for coming up with this initiative, and I want to believe is one of the many more to come. Lack of information remains one of the main challenges in utilization of the opportunities arising from signed and ratified trade agreements. This webinar therefore could not have come at a better time, as one of the objectives is to provide business people with information on requirements to successfully do business with South Africa and other African countries. The African Continental Free Trade Area goal is to create a single market of over 1.3 billion people, with the goal of creating a single market. As you are aware, intra-African trade has remained very low, allowed 15% of Africa's global trade. The African Continental Free Trade Area has therefore provided an opportunity for increased trade between countries by addressing the challenges that have faced business people, among them tariff and non-tariff barriers. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya and South Africa enjoy warm and cordial relations. We have very strong bilateral relations. We have currently over a dozen MOUs that have been signed and are being implemented, including one on trade. Unfortunately, the balance of trade between Kenya, the balance of trade is in favor of South Africa in a big way. For example, in 2023, Kenya export to South Africa stood at Kenya shillings 6.916 billion, while the import value was over 71.340 billion in the same period. The African Continental Free Trade Area, therefore, provides us with a good opportunity to bridge the gap by increasing the products we export, and more importantly, ensuring that we export goods that are value added. As you may be aware, Kenya now enjoys a visa-free regime with the Republic of South Africa for a period of over 90 days in a year. Free movement of people is key in growing business between nations. The visa-free regime, therefore, has made it very convenient for business people to be able to explore the opportunities available in the Republic of South Africa. As a High Commission, we continue to provide the necessary support required by business people. We are one of the stations that have a trade attaché. In case of any more information, any information required, our doors are open to ensure that we have to grow our business in South Africa and improve the balance of trade. As I conclude, I want to wish all of you fruitful deliberations, and I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for those remarks, and also assuring us that your doors are open for any support that we require as we try and venture into that particular market. As we proceed, there's a request from the chats. Our participants are requesting that we have our videos on. So our speakers, kindly just allow us to see you and put on your videos for us to be able to engage with you.
Maybe
as we
can
continue,
just put my on so that they see me.
yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Asante sana.
Right.
Okay. So as we proceed, thank you so much for all the participants that have already written their names and where they're coming from on the chat. I will be reading that as we proceed. Ladies and gentlemen, before I introduce the next speaker, I recognize all of you who are also participating and joining us this morning. Continue sending us your names and where you're joining us from, what you're exporting, and any other question that you may have. We have an able team on the chat section that is supporting to answer any questions that you have. Remember to share on the chat section your role, the organization you're representing, and if you're an exporter, also remember to share what you're exporting. What are the insights on South Africa's market, including key sectors and consumer trends? What specific opportunities are available for Kenya exporters? And what are the potential challenges that exporters may face, and how do they navigate them? We are now entering that section where we'll get to hear a lot from the team from the embassy who will be able to support us to understand that particular market. But before I allow our commercial attaché to speak, I want to recognize the presence of Ambassador Sunya Ore, who I want to invite to make a few comments or his remarks before we allow Jacqueline Marango to make her presentation. Karibu, Ambassador.
To Maureen, distinguished participants, good morning. I'm going to be brief. I'm quite new in the station, but I will start with first thanking Kenya Exports Promotions and Branding Agency for bringing these participants together. I'm also excited that I'm sharing this platform with our exporters. One of the key functions of every mission, the key one is actually commercial diplomacy. And African Continental Free Trade Area brings that opportunity. The right people who then are the key players are the exporters, the producers, the manufacturers, and I hope we have all those participants in this forum. South Africa provides a great opportunity for Kenya. As we know, we export quite a lot, not just processed manufactured goods, but also raw materials, some of which food, vegetables, fruits, and all that. The potential that South Africa has is that the GDP, South Africa's GDP is 3 times Kenya's GDP. The balance of trade is skewed 10 times to their way. And that then gives us an opportunity to negotiate so that we can eliminate and we hope many of the barriers, tariff barriers, are being eliminated. But even on tariff barriers, which will be a challenge, such that we can address that. And that experience is what we need to share. And it is my view, because there's very little presence of Kenyan companies in South Africa. We also, at the end of this webinar, come up with a framework into which we can assert our presence. Because without presence, without marketing yourself, without marketing your products, it's very difficult to penetrate markets. So with those few remarks, colleagues, friends, I wish all of us a very productive session.
Thank you, Ambassador. Jackie, you're next. Jackie is a commercial attaché at our embassy in Pretoria. I'd like her to take the stage and make a presentation.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Ambassador. Ambassadors. Good morning, our seniors from Keproba, and all our guests who have logged in. My name is Jacqueline. I'm the head attaché at the Kenya Commission, and I'll take you through this presentation on what South Africa offers for Kenyan traders. The AfCFTA, which is the African Continental Free Trade Area, is one of the flagship projects of the African Union Agenda 2063, created to boost intra-African trade, which has been relatively low at about 15% of Africa's global trade. This is as per track 2024. What the AfCFTA offers and the status of implementation. The AfCFTA creates a single continental market for over 1.4 billion people and an expected income boost of about $450 billion in Africa by 2035 through reduced trade barriers in Africa. So far, the AfCFTA has 54 signatories. Eritrea is yet to sign, and a total of 48 ratifications. From the screen, we are showing the AfCFTA ratification barometer, where we have 48 as the number of countries that have deposited their instruments of ratification with the depository, that is the chairperson of the African Union Commission. We have 54 number of signatories, the countries that have signed the consolidated text for the agreement establishing the AfCFTA. We have one country of the 55 EU member states that is yet to sign the AfCFTA agreement, which is the Eritrea. Next. The achievements of the AfCFTA. The AfCFTA has experienced a relatively fast ratification process. We have 92.3% of tariff lines under the rules of origin agreed upon. institutionalization and operationalization of the Secretariat. We have the GTI, the Guided Trade Initiative, launched in October 2022, which has significantly boosted trade in 8 countries for 96 products. The establishment of the AfCFTA Adjustment Fund, which is the US $10 billion, aimed at supporting members to adjust the AfCFTA liberalization over 5 to 10 years. AfCFTA Bank has already committed $1 billion. Over 9 central banks in African Union member states and 53 commercial banks are part of the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. The challenges facing the implementation of the AfCFTA. One, we have the budget challenge, the budget challenges for program. Funding by member states has been relatively low, which hinders full implementation. The contribution from member states to the AfCFTA program budget was only 5%, 4%, and 7% for 2022, 23, and 2024, respectively. Lack of interconnectivity infrastructure. Market integration cannot be complete without transport and trade facilitation instruments that are functional. Harmonization of customs procedures. Matters of customs, transit, and trade facilitation are likely to slow down business. The country readiness for AfCFTA. While Kenya continues to play a leading role under the AfCFTA, South Africa has made considerable progress by joining the phase 2 of the Guided Trade Initiative, whereby Kenya joined the first phase. So we were already trading under GTA when South Africa joined. Both countries have submitted the necessary tariff orders under the AfCFTA, indicating readiness to trade under the AfCFTA. And both Kenya and South Africa are working closely to enhance trade facilitation by working together to remove the tariff barriers through the AfCFTA. We are now going to see the Kenya-South Africa trade relations. According to the World Bank, these are the similarities between Kenya and South African economies. According to the World Bank, Kenya annual GDP growth in 2021 stood at 7.5% from a low of negative 0.3 in 2020, while South Africa's annual GDP growth in the same period stood at 4.9% from a low of negative 6.4 in 2020. Both countries have large populations of over 50 million, which presents lucrative markets with huge trade and investment opportunities that both can exploit. The Kenya-South Africa trade flows. Kenya's exports to South Africa stood at USD 51.3 million in 2023, while the import value was USD 551.7 million in the same period. That shows the trade is in favor of South Africa. Bilateral merchandise trade between the two countries increased from 557 USD million to 2022 USD 605.2 million in 2023. Composition of trade between South Africa and Kenya has remained the same since 1994, with South African exports being dominated by semi to manufactured products, while Kenyan products remained primary products with minimal to value addition, to zero value addition. In the last 10 years, the balance of trade between the two countries has been in favor of South Africa throughout the period. The South Africa's global source markets versus Kenya's share. South Africa's top imports were valued at USD 107.3 billion in 2023. Imports had average growth of 7.4% per year. Between 2022 and 2023, imports declined by 4.1% from USD 111.9 billion in 2022 to USD 107.3 billion in 2023. The major South African import source in 2023 were from China, which is 20.5%, USA with USD 9.2 billion, which is 8.6%, Germany with the USD 8.7 billion, so that is 8.1%. India, which is a USD of 7.5 billion, 7.0%, and UAE, which is USD 4 billion, that is at 3.7%. Same for Nigeria and Namibia. No other African countries appeared in the South African top 25 import source. Kenya was ranked 93rd as an import source with a value of USD 53.5 million. The Kenya's export grew on average by 16.1% between 2019 and 2023. In 2023, the major products that Kenya has exported to South Africa include gold, which is 47.8%, cut flowers and flower buds, 9.3%, carbonates, hexocarbonates, that is 3.9%, petroleum oils and oils obtained from bituminous mineral exclude crude, 3.7%, tea, which is our major product that has a huge market in South Africa, is 3.3%. Articles of conveyance of packaging of goods of plastics, that is 2.8%. Leguminous, vegetables, shelled or unshelled, 2%. Animal or vegetable fertilizers, whether or not mixed together, that is 1.6%. Coffee, 1.5%. And there's a huge potential for that in this market. And boats, panels, consoles, desk, cabinets, and other pieces at 1.5%. The top products accounted for 75.5%, calling for product diversification. Next. The low trade between Kenya and South Africa. Although the balance of trade is in favor of South Africa, the total trade volume and value is relatively low given both nations are key trading and investment partners in sub-Saharan African market, being among the biggest economies in the region. Kenya is the East Africa's largest economy in South Africa, and South Africa's largest trading partner in Africa, outside the SADC. According to the World 2021, South Africa's GDP stood at USD 419.9 billion, stood at USD 419.9 billion with a GDP per capita of USD 6,994.21, with Kenya's GDP stood at USD 110.3 billion with a GDP per capita of USD 2,205. The opportunities to challenge the status quo between the two countries. The Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry and South African Chamber of Commerce and Industry signed an MOU in 2022 to promote cooperation and collaboration in expanding trade and investment between Kenya and South Africa, and to promote private sector market penetration. This MOU provides opportunities to hold joint business forums with their South African counterparts in South Africa, at least yearly, alternately in both countries. Businesses and investments of both countries. There are many more Kenyan businesses established in South Africa. The only visible Kenyan company that is visible in South Africa is Kenya Airways, although we have a few Kenyans who are established in South Africa and running relatively small businesses. On the other hand, in Kenya, there are notable South African businesses that have been established. These are like Truworths, Wholeworths, Mr. Price, PG Bison, Standard Bank, Absa Bank, First Rand Bank, Old Mutual, among others. And now we're going to see the market opportunities that are available in South Africa. With a population of over 60 million and a developing and newly industrialized economy, there is a huge demand for black tea and other various flavors of teas, which have an import duty reduction as guided by the circular tariff offers and AfCFTA, which were ratified this year in January, end of January. South Africa experiences the 4 winter seasons. During winter, there's a huge demand for Kenyan cut flowers, which is between May and September. Most of our investors need to take advantage of this. The import duty is 20%, but still under negotiations, which will be renegotiated during the bilateral talks between the two countries. We are hoping this one is going to happen soon, maybe early next year. There is an advanced textile and leather industry in South Africa. So we need to sensitize our Kenyan textile industries and leather industries to take advantage of this. The visa-free regime of up to 90 days, like the High Commissioner said, this one, we need to take advantage of this for business people. Huge demand for organic foods as the country produces mainly the genetically modified organisms, the GMOs. Our national carrier, Kenya Airways, offers 24 passenger flights to Johannesburg and 9 passenger flights to Cape Town weekly. There are also 3 cargo flights, which has helped open up South Africa for Kenyan businesses and also for tourism between the two countries. Availability of road transport connecting South Africa from Cape Town through Tanzania to Kenya. This is also an ideal way for investors dealing with non-perishable foods and motor vehicles and other goods. And this one takes 7 to 10 days. This one is faster than using the ship from Durban, so people need to take advantage of that. Delays at the border, the challenges that have been faced by our exporters who have tried to access this market. There are delays at border entry points on account of failure to meet the South African standards and SPS requirements. This one, we need to work closely with KEBS because there is an MOU that is still outstanding that needs to be finalized. There is a customs duty of 20% on cut flowers. Like we said, we are going to renegotiate on this. The irregular cargo flights between Kenya and South Africa affecting cut flowers. This issue has been raised with Kenya Airways, and they've promised to address this. Uplifting of invoices on manufactured products on suspicion of undervaluation of Kenya customs. We have sensitized our exporters on this, on what to do. There is a standing ban on meat and meat products that needs to be lifted as there is a huge market for Kenyan meat. Our meat was banned in South Africa because of foot and mouth disease, and South African meat was banned in Kenya due to listeriosis. And we can see Kenya is doing something because we've heard about vaccination of the animals, because that was one of the key issues to tackle the foot and mouth disease. The challenges continues. The numerous permits with the related cost and high customs valuation, which are over and above invoice values. That is what our exporters experience at the borders. The Kenyan tea attracting to 40 cents per kg. Initially, this used to be 400 cents, but under AfCFTA, it is being phased out in phases. We are now at 240, and we know very soon this one is going to be zero rated. There are no regular vessels between Port of Mombasa and Durban. That one will resolve the challenge of road transport. Support for export supply chain. We need to reinitiate our talks with the government to consider establishing warehouses in Johannesburg and Cape Town to ensure regular supplying of exporters. We know Keproba is doing something on establishment of warehouses. The proposed solutions to the challenges. We had a meeting where we encouraged our tea producers to rethink about packaging within South Africa because of own labor loyalty and avoidance of taxes. This one is going to minimize the cost. The low cargo space availabilities. Kenya Airways is working on that. We've raised this severally with Kenya Airways. Finalize on MOU on standards. We'll still call upon KEBS and subs to address this. Aligning of the production seasons to avoid a glut in the market. This one affects our avocados and our cut flowers. We'll also do a lot of sensitization to our avocado producers. Next. Like I said, we'll also sensitize this on our cut flowers producers. The reduction of duty on our tea, that is something that has, this is a key score under AfCFTA. We can see it was reduced from 400 to 40 cents, and eventually it's going to be zero rated. Our green teas and other flavors have been zero rated. Next. The market preferences for Kenyan products in South Africa. Our tea, most of the South Africans, the market in South Africa are always looking for, the tea that they prefer is the tea in tea bags, because they don't know how to boil our tea like we do with our loose tea. So whoever is looking at this market to concentrate on tea bags production, the coffee, the demand that has been brought to our office is for the green beans, the roasted and the unroasted, and the ground roasted. The cut flowers is a demand for the roses, both white and red, and zinnias. The vegetables, these are the leguminous vegetables, cabbages, cauliflower, garlic, leeks, turnips, and other edible roots. For you to do business to export to South Africa, the documents that you need for you to access these markets at the borders, they'll need a commercial invoice, the bill of lading, the packing list, the insurance documents, and the specific product exporter's license. If it's tea, they require a tea exporter's license. And for foreign exporters like Kenyans, they must register as an importer in South Africa and nominate a registered agent in South Africa for clearing. Next. Our way forward so that you can reduce the gap between the Kenyan imports and the exports. Kenya needs to take advantage of the fact that South Africa is now trading under the GTI and the AfCFTA, and sensitize its investors on the opportunities availed on zero-rated products and other products with reduced duties that are allowed in. This will help in minimizing the gap, like I said, on trade imbalance, which is in favor of South Africa. More involvement of stakeholders and sector players. Fostering greater collaboration between the agencies and private sector associations like KRA. We've had issues. We've always referred our people, those who want to import under AfCFTA, to come to KRA for the AfCFTA certificate of origin, the KEBS for standards, they can invest, the chamber for the certificate of origin, and they come among other agencies for ease of trade facilitation. You can contact us. We've shared our email address. Our contact is here, our telephone number, and our email address. Next. Thank you so much for offering us this opportunity to explain to you what we are doing in South Africa, the opportunities available, and we are here for you anytime you can reach us. The embassy is open. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jackie Maragu, for that amazing presentation. I'm very sure we are getting a lot of questions coming in based on that presentation that you have made, the opportunities that you have highlighted that are there, the challenges that you have well articulated in lieu of the opportunities that are available in South Africa. And we really appreciate the fact that you have reiterated that your office is available for any support that we require for our exporters and anyone who's looking to venture into that particular market. Right about now, I want to just look at some questions that were shared to us before we began this particular webinar. And some of them, I think Jackie and the ambassadors have mentioned or have touched on them, but others which we're going to be looking at and are going to form some of the presentations that are coming up next One is, what are the taxable products in fashion and textiles, favorable preferential treaties? We have another question here, which I feel would best be answered with the presentation coming up from Kentrade. How can we export juices, fruits and vegetables to African countries? The Kenya Association of Manufacturers, I think this can be addressed in your presentation. This question is to enhance public awareness and capacity for Kenyan startups and innovation-based enterprises to leverage AfCFTA opportunities, fostering market access and advancing Kenya's role in the African innovation agenda. I think that is just a comment that maybe CAM can address in their presentation. And finally, this one I also saw would be related to issues discussed by Kenya Association of Manufacturers. What are the intra-Africa trade opportunities and markets available? So these and more questions, as received them, we'll be answering them and hoping that our panelists are ready. Remember, I want to remind you that our chat section is still open for easy access. If you have any questions, issues that you want to raise, please don't hesitate to reach out in that particular platform. We shall have a Q&A question and answer session at the end of the webinar. So please keep your questions at the end or just type them at the chat for instant feedback from the technical team led by Christine Sitawa, Kelvin Oluoch, and Charles Saminga, who are at hand to answer those questions. However, allow me to read, to actually just move on to the next speaker. Evelyn Wamai, the head of Marketing and Business Development Division at Kenya Trade Network Agency, that is Kentrade. She has over 20 years of experience in trade facilitation, logistics, marketing, and communications. She's also worked for Kenya Ports Authority, where she's facilitated stakeholder engagements locally and internationally. She has also worked with other very many teams that have worked in streamlining the delivery of cargo through rail to ICD, through bill of landing. She has done so many things in implementing single window system project. And so, Karibu Evelyn, you have 10 minutes. Take us through what you have for us today.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Maureen. Appreciate the opportunity. As you said, my name is Evelyn Wamai from Kenya Trade Network Agency. I'd like, first of all, to appreciate and recognize the presence of the ambassador from Kenya to South Africa, Ambassador Jane Duromo, all other diplomatic representatives that are present here with us this morning, representatives from the public and private sector. Thank you so much for being present, and all other participants who are present. Good morning to all of you. I take this opportunity to appreciate on behalf of Kentrade Keproba for giving us the opportunity to participate and partner with you, even as we work towards facilitating trade in Kenya and the region and internationally. So quickly, my presentation, thank you very much. So for us, as an agency, Kenya Trade Network Agency is an agency that was set up to facilitate trade in Kenya and to implement the National Electronic Single Window System in Kenya. Now, we are domiciled as an agency under the National Treasury, and we have been from 2013. Now, our biggest mandate, as mentioned, is to implement the National Electronic Single Window System, which is something that we did from 2013. And we were given this mandate because of the challenges that at the time the Port Authority, the port-based community was experiencing insofar as documentation processing was concerned. And that was becoming quite a challenge and had an impact on how quickly cargo was being evacuated, how quickly even vessels could turn around. And that's why we came in to provide a solution to be able to now enable traders to be able to facilitate and fast-track documentation processing to be able to get in touch or get possession of their cargo within the shortest time possible. Now, the single window system is a system that allows, the next slide, please. The single window system is a system that sits in the middle, I would say, of the traders. It sits between the traders and the port authorities. So now quickly, just our functions, as mentioned, is to, of course, I've mentioned, manage and establish the electronic single window system. We have also implemented policies related to the system itself. We have integrated electronic systems for public and private sectors. We've also integrated with the Kenya Revenue Authority, Kenya Ports Authority, and many others involved in the trade logistics value chain. We've also provided a platform for the issuance of permits. Anyone importing anything or exporting anything that requires a permit, we have facilitated them, made a provision for them to be able to lodge their permits so that they can be approved for them to import or export. And then we also are mandated to collect and provide trade statistics, which now provide information and guide when people need to get information on what kind of cargo we're dealing with, the kind of permits, transit times, permits being processed, and a lot more. And then also part of what it is that we're required to do is to continue to create awareness, and also we develop and monitor training programs for all stakeholders. And this is really to create awareness for our stakeholders. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the situation at the port at the time, why we had a case for single window system was, as you can see there on the slide, those are maze stakeholders. If you're importing something, you'd have to go to various or very many stakeholders or partner government agencies for one document only before you can take possession of your cargo. That this situation was quite chaotic and was proving to be very, very difficult and very expensive for traders. And that is why a decision was made to come up with a solution that would alleviate these challenges. And of course, it was quite lengthy. There was no transparency. If you wanted to go to one's clearing agent, for example, you wouldn't get clear information on how or what it is that is required. So it created a lot of underhand deals, and it was robbing the government of revenue that it needed to collect. And so that is why the single window came to create some harmony in the process. Now, moving forward, so the system sits in between the trader and the partner government agencies. Right on the far end, on my left, is where you find the trader. Now, in the middle is the system. The system just allows you to lodge in your documentation, and these documents are forwarded to the various stakeholders that need at any given time to either approve, either have to view, to give a forward movement for the cargo and the documentation, so that you can as a trader, you're able to process your documentation. After that, following that, so what we have done, and the single window system is it is not just something that we decided as Kentrade to put together. It is anchored in some framework. The UN CFAT Recommendation 33 actually gives guidelines on how to implement national window systems in countries. And that is something that we adopted, and we aligned ourselves with that WTO requirement. So we came up a bit of history. We came into in 2013. So far, we have over 2,100 registered users. We have over 42 partner government agencies who are on board. We have over 1 million transactions that we have undertaken that have been able to facilitate stakeholders through the single window system alone. Moving forward, so what we have done in terms of facilitating trade, you understand that, so this is just to illustrate that systems do get obsolete. So we took over a process of upgrading our TFP platform, our system, so that now it becomes more robust. It's able to handle more and accommodate more processes. And that process was finalized last year. And so this year we're operating on a new platform, which is more, it uses the current technologies that are in the market to be able to facilitate trade. As we move along, and insofar as what else that we are doing, other services that we provide in the market, we have marine cargo insurance, we have the info trade portal, we have the trade finance, where we are seeking to provide an opportunity for traders to easily get trade finance for their input and export process. We have the digital logistics marketplace, which is a B2B, a business to business. A single window is a government to business. This one is a G2B, which allows all stakeholders who are in the logistics value chain to offer their services on a single platform for people to either bid or able to request for these services on a single platform. And then we also have the maritime single window system, which allows cargo vessels coming into the port or calling the port of Mombasa to be able to lodge their documents electronically before the vessel calls the port of Mombasa. And then, of course, the business intelligence tool, which is a tool we have implemented to take advantage of the statistics that we are churning throughout the single window system to be able to provide visibility for stakeholders, especially for partner government agencies, to be able to make informed decisions when it comes to how they process their documentations. So very quickly for us, as an agency, I will quickly skip that slide and go to what it is our role is. The biggest thing for us we have implemented and what it is that we have done, and I've mentioned in the value-added services, is a tool we call the InfoTrade portal. Now, the InfoTrade portal, and I have noted from even the comments that were made by the ambassador and even the comments that were made by the remarks that were made by Jackie, giving us a highlight on some of the products that are exports into South Africa. And I know Jackie did mention tea as one of them, cut flowers, petroleum products, gold, coffee, and fertilizers. Now, what we have done on the InfoTrade portal, the InfoTrade portal is a portal that has documented. We have documented processes for import and export for products that key products, export markets for various countries. Now, the portal allows you to access this information. You're able to tell step by step, should you require to export to South Africa, for example, and if you need to send out tea to South Africa, what information do I need to have beforehand so that I'm able to plan better? Now, that information is all documented. So our priority for us, and I know our take home from this meeting this morning, is to look at how we can then prioritize, even as we continue with the process of documentation and simplification, how we can prioritize the products, export products to South Africa. But in terms of how we have facilitated trade, we have come up with also market access support. This is something that we're working together with KEPROBA to be able to facilitate stakeholders, especially when it comes to taking advantage of the opportunities in the AfCFTA framework, which is a very key thing. Noted earlier, the ambassador mentioned that information is key, and information awareness is what has been lacking for a very long time. So as an agency, what we are seeking really to achieve is to provide that information using the various platforms that we have, various tools that we have churned out so that we're able to provide the requisite information to online traders who need to be able to take advantage and make informed decisions. Number three, what we've also done is undertaken capacity building sessions because we realize for traders to be able to take advantage of these markets, they really need to know and have to have the information that they require. So what we have done, and we have partnered also with KEPROBA, to go to various counties to be able to create awareness so that the counties within that region, especially for the specific products, export products, so that we are creating awareness and teaching them how they can take advantage of these markets, what it is they need to have in place, who they need to see before they even embark on running an export process in advance, which has really been very, very, very impactful. Third and fourth, but not least, is also information sharing. We also have been able to provide opportunities to share information, even from our business intelligence tool. We've used our tools. We have trade statistics that we can pull out from our single window system, providing the requisite information for people to be able to understand the market dynamics, to understand the needs of the specific markets, to understand the percentages, for example, like what we've just been given. You know, it's important to know you don't want to export to a certain market and you haven't established whether there's really a market or a need for your product. So we have allowed information to be harvested so that we're able to share with our stakeholders. And then, of course, last but not least, of course, is our market awareness and creating market opportunities. We are marketing our facilities, marketing our thoughts, and just sharing information so that now not only is it for Kenya, for Kentrade, but just for Kenya as a whole, to be looked at as a lucrative investment and export market. So thank you very much for this opportunity. We do appreciate that opportunity. And we're here as a team to be able to respond to any questions that will be coming to us. And we'd be more than happy to respond to those. Over to you, Maureen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Evelyn Wamai, for that interesting presentation about what you're doing down there at Kentrade and how you can be able to support our exporters as they try to venture into the South African market. Thank you so much. She's kept it short and sweet. And also, if you have any questions on how Kentrade can be able to support you, please keep those questions coming through. We'll have a question and answer session that will be reading all those questions that are coming in. Let me look at some of the participants, as I had promised that I'll be reading some of the participants that have joined us. Let me read a couple of them. Deck Global Concepts, Karibu Sana, you say currently exploiting the Congo market as well as exploring South Africa as a source. Good morning, Tito Njuhingu. I'm an organic coconut oil farming, interested in export business. Wow, they keep on disappearing on me. So we'll keep on reading some of these questions as they come in. And so allow me to move on to the next presenter, who is Veronica Kivengea, the Principal Quality Assurance Officer at Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS. Veronica has over 15 years of experience in conformity assessment. She undertakes the certification process for locally manufactured products, ensuring that they meet safety, quality, and regulatory requirements. Ms. Veronica has made considerable contributions to improving consumer confidence in products, enhancing industry practices, and also supporting locally manufactured products to compete effectively in the local and international market. Karibu, Veronica, you have 10 minutes. Proceed.
Thank you so much, Maureen. All protocols observed. Good morning, everyone. My name is Veronica Kivengea from Kenya Bureau of Standards. I'll take you through the KEBS mandate. And our KEBS main mandate is on standardization services, where we develop and review standards for conformity assessment. The next key mandate is on conformity assessment services, where we provide services on product testing, product and system certification, and inspection of products, both local and imported products. Another key mandate is on facilitation of trade through development of standards. We also offer information services on developed standards and standards under review, and also on WTO information, where KEBS operates as the national inquiry point in support of the WTO agreements on technical barriers to trade and facilitation to trade. We also do training and education through the National Quality Institute, where we do a lot of capacity building for both local manufacturers and also service providers. What are standards? Because everybody is talking about compliance to standards. Standards are documents that provide requirements, specification, guidelines that can be used consistently to ensure that materials, products, processes, and services are fit for purpose. And three key main objectives of us complying to standards is to ensure that we facilitate trade, we protect consumer from harmful and poor quality goods, and we also do protect our environment. We wanted to look at how compliance to standards enhances exporters' competitiveness in accessing the African Continental Free Trade Area. Through facilitation, through compliance to standards, it ensures that products meet the regulatory and quality requirements of the targeted market area. When I was listening to some of the challenges in South Africa, I learned that one of the key challenges is on delays at the border point due to most of our products not able to meet the requirements of the South African standards. So one of the key points is that when we want to export our products to any other market outside this country, it is very clear that those products should be able to meet the requirements of the specific standards for that country. And KEBS plays a key role in harmonization of standards. And harmonization of standards ensures that the products or the goods that are manufactured in Africa are able to access the African market and any other international market without any trade barriers. Standards ensures that we build consumer trust and confidence. When your products are able to comply with set standards, your consumers perceive those standards to be safe, reliable, and of high quality. So those are some of the reasons as to why we should ensure that the products that we are producing, the products that we are getting out there to the market are able to meet the requirement, and this enhances the customer confidence and can lead to increased demand for such products in diverse markets. If our products are able to comply to set requirements of our standards, it means that we'll have a lot of reduction in costs and delays. One of the challenges, as one of the speakers has mentioned, is on the delays at the border points due to non-compliances. So if the products are complying and adhering to standards, then it means we are able to minimize some of the risks of border rejections, inspections, or penalties due to non-compliances. And this streamlines custom clearance processes, reducing costs associated with rework or reworks, and also ensures timely delivery to our markets. Compliance to standards supports regional integration. In the African Continental Free Trade, one of the emphases is on the harmonization of standards. And as we have talked about it, there's a lot of harmonization of standards across member states that is happening currently. And this is encouraging mutual recognition of conformity assessment procedures. That means if these standards have been harmonized to what we are calling the ARSO standards, then if they're able to meet the requirements at the national level in Africa, then it means they're acceptable. That is the mutual recognition of the quality marks from different nations within the African continent. And these exporters are supposed to align with the harmonized standards to gain a competitive edge by demonstrating readiness for cross-border trade. Compliance to standard facilitates access to financing and partnership. If your products are complying to standards, then investors are more likely to support your businesses because they can be able to trust the quality of your products and also attract the potential trade partnerships and collaborations with other business partners. Compliance to standards promotes innovation and value addition. This encourages exporters to innovate and adopt best practices in product design, production, and quality control, which leads to high-value products, making them more competitive in regional and global markets. One of the speakers has talked about the market in South Africa, and picked one item, for example, on textile and leather industry. We have a lot of leather in this country, and if we can be able to do value addition on some of those products, and the market is there in South Africa, and we are able to meet the requirements of the standard, then as exporters, that becomes an opportunity to us. If your products are complying with the set requirements, it eliminates legal bottlenecks that traders are likely to encounter in the distribution of products within the common market. This reduces the issues of product recall or any other legal implications when your products out there in the market are not able to meet the requirements of the set standards. Compliance to standard also attracts investor confidence. I've talked about it, which potential business partners could be interested in establishing a joint business venture that's promoting benefits of sustained consumer confidence. Investing in standards compliance, exporters position themselves to fully exploit the opportunities presented by the African Continental Free Trade Area, contributing to sustainable growth and competitiveness in the region. So those are some of the advantages of complying to set requirements. And as I've said, gives us a role to play in the African Continental Free Trade Area and also in supporting the implementation of Agenda 2063. And one of the key role GAPS plays is in harmonization and enforcing standards that supports the continental development goals. When we are talking about harmonization of standards, this ensures that goods manufactured in Africa are able to access the African market and any other international market. And through the implementation of mutual recognition of quality marks, economic operators can freely move products across the borders in Africa, and this will reduce the cost of doing business and enhances competitiveness of African products and services. Currently, Kenya Bureau of Standards, we are in the process of harmonizing our standards. We have already harmonized the national standards to East African standards, almost at 99%. We are currently also harmonizing our East African standards to the ARSO standards. And these harmonized standards will be able to ensure that we have reduced the cost of doing business. This means that if your products are able to comply locally to the harmonized standards, then they will have the benefit of accessing the market within the continent with ease. So other than the standards harmonization, we also do offer the conformity assessment services, as I talked about them, that is in inspection, testing of your products, product, and system certification. We do technical support to industries by carrying out capacity building exercise, where we reach out to you and disseminate the information to our exporters, so that by the time they're exporting the products, they are already aware of the requirements of the local standards. Because if they can be able to meet the requirements of the local set standards, and I normally advise exporters, if you're exporting your products to a certain country, it's always very important to know the requirements of that country. If you're able to know the requirements of that country and the standards applicable to that country, then you can be able to reach out to us. We look at those standards because we are able to access the standards. We look at the requirements of those standards. Then we do the testing services for you and ensure that those products are meeting the requirements of that particular country before you even export the products. Then another role is on regulation of imports to ensure that we protect our local manufacturers. Then digital transformation by ensuring that we have digitalized our services to ensure smooth running of the operations, then capacity building and focusing. KEBS contributes significantly to Kenya's competitiveness in the African continental free trade area, ensuring that the country can fully benefit from the expanded market while protecting the consumers and fostering industrial growth. As exporters, we have a lot of opportunities to take advantage of. And one of the opportunities in collaboration in the manufacturing sector, where the exporters can collaborate with the South African manufacturers in various sectors, for example, in the textile and apparel, then we are able to leverage on the South Africa's and vast industrial facilities and to also take advantage of the Kenya's competitive labor costs. Another opportunity is on value addition. We have a lot of products in this country where we can do value addition for raw materials, especially in agribusiness, leather and textile. We can do a lot of value addition. We have a lot of coffee, I could see from the charts. We have a lot of tea in this country. So once we do these value additions, those are some of the opportunities we can take advantage of and be able to supply these products to the South African market. We can also take advantage of the expansion of Kenyan brands. We have a lot of established Kenyan brands which can enter the South African market, leverage the African continental free trade area, reduce trade barriers. And we have these products, as I've mentioned, like tea, coffee, horticulture, processed foods such as canned fruits and juices. By exploring these available opportunities, we have more opportunities that our exporters can be able to take advantage of. The Kenyan businesses can expand their footprint in South Africa, positioning themselves as strong players in the African Continental Free Trade Area framework. So thank you so much, as we purpose to comply to standards so that we can be able to reduce some of these delays at the border point. And as Kenya Bureau of Standards, we are working together with other African countries so that we can be able to complete the harmonization of these standards to the ARSO standards so that we can be able to access the African market without any trade barriers. Thank you so much. Back to you, Maureen.
Thank you so much, Veronica, for those insights and also reassuring us that you are doing a lot back at Kenya Bureau of Standards to support our exporters. I can see clearly that there are so many questions that are related to Kenya Bureau of Standards on the chat. Kindly just want to request the speakers to kindly, number one, share their contact details on the chat. And then the second thing is there are a lot of agency-specific questions from participants, and I request the speakers to just engage with our participants and respond to these particular questions, even as we edge closer to the Q&A session that's coming up. Our next speaker is coming up, and we are going to be exploring KRA and what they can be able to help or support in facilitating exporters to access the AfCFTA market. And before I get to the speaker and introduce the speaker, let me read two questions that are coming in as they set themselves up. I would like to understand the dynamics involved with exporting dairy products, specifically value-added products. And this question can be answered either by KEBS, KRA, and Kentrade. One specific question here for KRA: can we repeal the rules of origin of apparels from 3 transformations to 1 transformation in Africa in all categories to boost the apparel industry and create impactful jobs, mitigate imports by competing with imports? Our next speaker, who is from KRA, I hope those questions you have taken note of it. I'll give you 10 minutes as you prepare to enter. And this is Stephen Kiplagat Chioni. He's a supervisor, rules of origin at the Kenya Revenue Authority. His roles are implement free trade area initiatives in which Kenya is a signatory to, including, among others, issuance of preferential certificate of origin, registration of exporters, and implementation of trade facilitation initiatives. And he says the most rewarding part of his job is participating in full implementation of CFTA by being the issuer of the first certificate of origin under CFTA. Notably is the Kenyan export of tea to Ghana. So Stephen, you're up next, and I think you are the best voice to guide us through how we can navigate this particular market. You have 10 minutes, and you can now proceed.
Oh, thank you, Maureen. And I wish to thank all our participants. Thank the ambassador for creating the occasion. We also thank the panelists, our agencies, KEBS, KEPROBA, Kentrade, and all the participants from the public sector and the private sector. I welcome you. I will take you through briefly our mandate as KRA, which I know most of you are aware, and we'll take you through the initiatives that we have made as the authority to implement AfCFTA. And briefly, we'll take you through the process of exporting under AfCFTA. So the outline is that our mandate, I'll touch on the mandate, the initiatives that KRA has done, and the registration process. If you want to export under AfCFTA, what is the specific steps We call it Trade Facilitation 101. What will you do? What are we required as exporters to export under AfCFTA? And I will welcome any questions. I've seen already some few. So our mandate largely is on is a government agency that is responsible for collection of taxes. But remember, we have departments. So I come from Customs and Border Control, which has its own mandates in addition to the revenue. And one of them is the trade facilitation. That is key mandate, which is above the revenue. And this facilitation now brings us that we are the designated competent authority. So we issue all the proofs of origin. That is preferential. When we talk of preferential, we mean those certificates that will give us duty preference on the destination countries or on the agreements that we have signed as the country. So we issue certificates under ESC, that is the East African Community, the COMESA, AfCFTA, we have certificates to EU, EPA, to AGOA, to some GSP, and the UK EPA. All these are preferential markets for us. So our mandate as the competent authority is to issue the certificate of origin to those markets, whereas the non-preferential markets are issued by our Chamber of Commerce and the Coffee Directorate for coffee. Our key mandates revolve around that facilitation of preferential proofs of origin. That is where rules of origin is domicile. It is under trade facilitation. And on the next slide, it is now our initiatives. What have we done? What have we done as KRA? We are the focal persons on rules of origin, trade facilitation. These are, if you can check the three, the rules of origin, the TF, and mutual assistance are annexes in the agreement and the AfCFTA. So we participate as KRA to spearhead those annexes, designing what certificate is required, what are the rules applicable, and all that. On the specimen signatures and stamp impressions, we have circulated our signatories to the Secretariat so that when we issue preference, when we issue certificate, it is recognized under AfCFTA. We have procured the trading documents. For us to trade under AfCFTA, we need documents. KRA has actually procured around 15,000 documents and certificate of origin for AfCFTA. So it is for us to take it up because we have the certificates ready to trade, and our mandate is just to issue. We are doing continuous training. The Guided Trade Initiative, we are participating as an agency on matters, custom and the issuance of the trading documents. And even our systems, we have configured our system to accept AfCFTA rates in case of importation. Same as exportation, our systems are ready. You just lodge the normal export document. I think previous presenters have shared the documents required for you to export. So far, we have issued, I wish to correct that one to be 76 certificates under AfCFTA. So we are still way, way far. Only 76 since the GTI started in 2022. So if you can do your maths, we are only doing 30 certificates per year, around 40. And that is as at 31st November. Of key to note, as exporters, we have done energy saving stuffs to West Africa, skin and hides. To South Africa, it is majorly tea, the closures, and soda ash. Those are the few certificates we have issued under AfCFTA to South Africa. And the markets as listed there is Ghana, Cameroon, Nigeria, Togo, and South Africa. So that are our key partners in under AfCFTA. So I've not mentioned the COMESA. So where the real process is a step-by-step process. If you want to export, you have gotten the market, you have the link, you have the business-to-business agreement with the market in South Africa. You will begin by applying. There's a form that you can apply to rules of origin. You can download it online on our KRA website. The form is a simple form. You just fill in the form, attach the business registration form, the PIN certificate, and any license where applicable. And then you lodge the documents at our offices. We are located in Nairobi, all the cities in Kenya. That is Nairobi, Eldoret, Kisumu, Mombasa, and Nakuru. Before we move, on lodging the documents, we will assign our officers on the 5 regional offices, including Nairobi, to do any verification. You remember, for us to confer origin to a product, we have to certify ourselves that it is meeting the rules of origin. So that rules of origin, we have to verify through a process by witnessing the production, confirming the raw materials, the inputs, and all that. All this process, we can do it within 5 days. When we are satisfied that we are meeting the rule under AfCFTA, that it is a rule of CTH or a rule of substantial or wholly obtained, when we'll give you a reference that we'll be using to export, that reference will be issued in form of a letter, and we'll advise you which criteria to apply to a certain market. For AfCFTA, we'll give you a criteria to export under AfCFTA, and we'll always be issuing new certificate of origin when you are ready with an invoice. So once we have the reference, we'll not be coming back to your factory or your manufacturing farm, but only we'll have our database and we'll always be issuing. So this is a step-by-step process of exporting under AfCFTA. So you apply, you lodge the documents, we do verification as rules of origin experts, and then we give you a reference and a letter. And then from that now you can procure the certificate of origin, which you'll type and submit with other documents during exportation. So when you have the reference, you'll be guided on how to fill the certificate of origin under AfCFTA after registering the farm. So the way forward is that that process that you have seen in the previous slide, we will want to automate the process. We will want to simplify that process so that we remove the manual aspect, so that we link that process to our ICMS system, so that you can always be applying online. The only manual process is the actual verification or witnessing the production. Also, capacity building. We'll want to build capacity through the desk training. We realize that our officers are also new to this agreement and the AfCFTA. We want to make our officers aware so that they can process our exports to the South African market and be aware of the agreement. Also, we want to increase the stakeholder engagement through workshops. So we are always available in case there are any workshops stakeholders are organizing. We as KRA and the Trade Facilitation also organizes workshops for our stakeholders to understand the agreement. And also we want to establish liaison desks at our exit points and entry points. These are the borders, so that we can reach to our stakeholders on those points on understanding the AfCFTA. And then raising awareness on the benefits and opportunities of the agreement. So these are the way forward on reaching, because you can see out of 15,000 certificates we have procured, only 76 have been utilized. So we need to move fast. We need uptake on this agreement because we have the potential. So South Africa is a key potential. Our T to South Africa is still low. And remember that the import duty has reduced from 400 to 240. The cut flowers, if it is 10, it was 10%, it will be now 6% under the AfCFTA. So there's a margin that you can save as an exporter. So with those few remarks, I will thank the panelists. Our contacts for the rules of origin, where we are actually implementing the AfCFTA, is you just write to us under rules of origin at kra.go.ke. That is one word. I'll type on the chat for our panelists, our viewers to take note. I think that is my submission and my presentation for now. Back to you, Maureen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Stephen, for that presentation. I'm sure you've answered most of the questions that had come in earlier that were related to the work that KRA is doing. Kindly request that you check also on the chats and also on the Q&A session on our webinar, where you can be able to see many questions which are still coming in from our participants. And you can be able to address that, even as you try as much as possible to be able to put those contacts on the chat specifically. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost coming to the tail end. We still have at least 2 more speakers, then we get into the Q&A, and then we have a way forward, which will help us understand how do we move on from this conversation that we are having. Let me read a question that is directed to Kentrade. I think, Evelyn, you can be able to take this question on the chat and be able to answer it. Many times we face system downtimes, which often causes significant delays, which result in additional costs, such as storage and demurrage. What steps is Kentrade taking to address these challenges and ensure smooth operations? Kindly request that our representative, Evelyn, kindly go and check on the Q&A question session and answer some of these questions that are coming in from our participants. Our next speaker is Consilia Were, who is coming in as an Assistant Manager, Legal Services and Assistant Registrar of Trademarks at Kenya Industrial Property Institute, that is KIPI. Consilia is a Registrar of Trademarks at KIPI with over 12 years experience, where she has done a lot of intellectual property administration with more focus on industrial property rights, covering patent, trademarks, industrial designs, utility models, which are really important when you're trying to create a brand that is going to access this market that we're talking about. She's also taken part in negotiations under CFTA regarding the dispute settlement body, and therefore conversant with a lot of CFTA agreements and how you can be able to navigate that. Karibu Consilia, you have 10 minutes. Take up the stage.
Thank you so much, Maureen. Kindly allow me to present without my video, just to manage my bandwidth. I'll first of all like to introduce to you Kenya Industrial Property Institute, which is a state corporation under the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. And it is established under the Industrial Property Act of 2001. And KIPI basically administers 2 acts of parliament. One is the Industrial Property Act of 2001, which deals with the protection of patents, industrial designs, and utility models. And then we also have the Trademarks Act, Cap 506 of the laws of Kenya, which basically deals with the trade and service marks. So KIPI is mandated to promote inventive and innovative activities and to facilitate acquisition of patent rights, trademark rights, utility model rights, and industrial design rights. And the functions of KIPI are basically to consider applications for grant and registration of industrial property. So we receive your applications, we examine your applications and decide whether you will be granted with a trademark right, a patent right, a design right, or a utility model right. And we also do screen technology transfer agreements. You realize there's a lot of technology that is being transferred to Kenya from different countries and also from Kenya to other countries. And we also look at your licenses and review and see whether these licenses could actually be registered under the Kenyan law. Then we also provide to the public industrial property information for technological and economic development. So we are engaged in various awareness activities which aim at providing information on how to protect and enforce your intellectual property rights. We also encourage innovative and inventive activities where we are encouraging people to come up with various solutions to the problems that we are facing as a country. And we also organize and conduct trainings, competitions, and awards relating to industrial property matters. And of course, this is also geared towards promoting the issue or the aspects of inventiveness and innovativeness in Kenya. So looking at the constitutional provisions on intellectual property, find that with the enactment of the Kenyan Constitution 2010, there are specific provisions that have been provided in the Constitution relating to intellectual property. And the main article is Article 40, sub-Article 5, which obligates the state to support, promote, and protect the intellectual property rights of the people of Kenya. And of course, this is usually achieved through the various institutions that deal with the protection and enforcement of IP rights. There's also Article 11, which also obligates the state to promote all forms of national and cultural expressions, and also Article 69, C and E, 69(1)(c) and E, which also mandates the state to protect traditional knowledge and genetic resources. And you find that from this article, there's actually a law on the protection of traditional knowledge and cultural expressions. And of course, Article 260(c), which includes IP in the definition of property. So just as we consider land as very valuable property, IP is also considered as a property, and this means that it can be transferred and actually commercialized. So looking at IP and the AfCFTA, the AfCFTA protocol on intellectual property rights was actually adopted by the AU Assembly during its 36th ordinary session, that is last year in February. And this protocol has a preamble and 7 parts, or we call them chapters, with 42 articles. And some of the rights that are considered under this protocol are on plant variety, geographical indications, trademarks, patents, industrial designs, utility models, copyright and related rights, layout designs, traditional knowledge, cultural expressions, and disclosed information. So you find that there are various kinds of rights that are actually provided under this IP protocol. And this is important because I think there's a misconception. People just talk about intellectual property, but do not highlight the various aspects of intellectual property that are being protected. So through this IP protocol, you find that there are various intellectual property rights that are considered and which are very important for business. Now, looking at KIPI's role in the AfCFTA, one of the things that we do is to facilitate IP protection for Kenyans and AfCFTA member states. And protection of intellectual property currently is a territorial aspect. So you have to go to a specific country and protect your IP in that country for you to be able to enforce it. So this AfCFTA requires a very strong intellectual property framework for businesses to be able to thrive. And KIPI ensures that the Kenyan and AfCFTA member states' IP rights are protected and respected. So we not only protect the rights of Kenyans, but any AfCFTA member state can actually protect their IP through KIPI. So you'll have to get a representative that is a local agent as provided for under our laws, and the local agent will register your IP in Kenya, and that means that you can be able to carry out business in Kenya. And of course, we are talking about the issue of registration and enforcement, and KIPI helps Kenyan and AfCFTA member states businesses to register their patents, their utility models, trademarks, and industrial designs. And we not only assist you to register, we also facilitate the aspect of enforcement of IP rights. And this will also assist in terms of safeguarding the various innovations. For example, you've registered your trademark at KIPI, and a dispute arises. As an office, we can send a representative in court to actually verify that that specific trademark right was actually registered by KIPI. So we facilitate enforcement of IP rights. In addition, we also support innovation, licensing, and technology transfer. And as I've said, we promote inventive and innovative activities. Of course, also provide effective IP protection, therefore helping Kenyan companies to be able to leverage on aspects of market access. And promoting licensing and technology transfer between the various African countries. So, for example, you're transferring a technology and you've done an assignment. That assignment is actually supposed to be brought to KIPI so that KIPI can be able to go through and see whether it actually complies with the requirements of the Industrial Property Act. So we consider also licensing. For example, you have a license agreement allowing someone to be able to use, for example, your trademark in a certain geographical area. For example, you've registered, but you've registered your trademark, but you can only be able to do sales in Nairobi. You can allow other people to do in other, for example, counties. You can do Mombasa, and it is also a form of actually revenue generation. Then training and awareness, and we offer training programs to Kenyan entrepreneurs and businesses. And this training will help the various entrepreneurs and businesses to understand the value of intellectual property, because some people actually do have intellectual property, but they do not know that they actually have intellectual property rights, which they can be able to protect and monetize. So we help you to understand that what you have is actually an intellectual property right, and that you can protect that right, and that you can actually commercialize and get some benefit from it. We also create awareness programs on how to use IP to enhance competitiveness in the AfCFTA market. There is no way you're going to sell your coffee in the AfCFTA member states and that coffee is not branded. So it's very important to package and brand your products or your services for them to be able to benefit in the global and even the regional market. And of course, we continue building capacity for MSMEs, and we focus on strengthening the capacity of the small and medium enterprises to use IP as a tool for economic growth. And we cannot say more, but IP is very important for economic growth. And we offer advisory services to the MSMEs and startups, making it easier for them to be able to protect their innovations. We also got a presidential directive that any young person, or I don't want to say youth, but any young person who is registered under the Young Scientists Kenya can actually get a fee waiver for protecting their innovations at our office. So this is also an opportunity to encourage the young people under the Young Scientists Kenya to take advantage of these fee waivers and protect their innovations. And this will actually assist them to be able to move to markets beyond the Kenyan territory. We also have an inventor assistance program that helps innovators to be able to navigate through the technical challenges of patents and utility models protection. You find that most MSMEs do not understand the formal requirements when it comes to protection of patents and utility models. And this program has volunteers who actually provide pro bono services for MSMEs to be able to overcome those challenges that they meet in terms of the formalities for protecting the IP rights. So what this does is that if you have an IP and you don't know, for example, the process of registration, say you want to register a patent and you really do not understand how do I start. So we have these volunteers who can take you through these processes so that your application does not get rejected just on the basis that this application did not meet the formality requirements. So inventors can also take advantage of these opportunities because the services are actually free. And this also is a way of encouraging innovation. And we also look at regional IP cooperation, and we are involved with a number of regional and even international bodies. For example, the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization and the African Intellectual Property Organization, and also the World Intellectual Property Organization. And we collaborate with these organizations to assist in terms of IP protection. And we also collaborate with the other African IP offices to try to deal with this aspect of harmonization of IP rules so that there is smooth trade under the AfCFTA. Though, of course, we acknowledge the fact that the aspect of harmonization might take time, but we are collaborating with these other offices to see how the aspect of harmonization can come in. And of course, we are enhancing competitiveness of Kenyan products, and IP protection increases this confidence for investors. And you find that having strong IP laws actually helps to attract foreign direct investment into Kenya. IP rights are very crucial in terms of integrating African economies, and we allow businesses to capitalize on a common market. And what KIPI is doing is that we're ensuring that Kenyan businesses are well positioned to take advantage of the AfCFTA benefits. So businesses are encouraged to register their intellectual property rights so they can be able to take advantage of these opportunities that are provided for by the AfCFTA. So what is the future for KIPI and the AfCFTA? Again, we continue to expand IP awareness among Kenyan businesses to foster a greater understanding of its importance in trade. And we keep promoting innovation, and our focus remains on encouraging innovation by offering resources and support for IP filings. And we are also continuing with the aspect of regional cooperation, and KIPI will maintain its effort on regional collaboration to work out on this issue of harmonization of the IP systems across Africa, which we believe will provide a seamless trading environment for the Kenyan businesses. KIPI plays a critical role in enabling businesses to benefit from the AfCFTA. And KIPI works towards enhancing productivity and competitiveness, fosters innovation, and also ensures that businesses thrive in this continental market. So I encourage MSMEs to take advantage of the opportunities that are available, and we will continue creating awareness for them to be able to understand how important it is to protect your intellectual property rights for you to be able to achieve the aspect of competitiveness and also productivity. Those are my contacts. I'm available for any questions. I hope I didn't take a lot of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Consilia, for your wonderful presentation. It was great to hear that inventions are also registered under your organizations and encouraging more inventions to start coming in. You're providing that service free of charge. I hope that I got that correct. That will be free.
No, that is for the young scientists in Kenya. If we provide free services, we are going to close shop. But for the young people, I encourage them to go through the Young Scientists Kenya and apply for fee waivers for their innovations.
Okay, that's very good information. Thank you so much for that, Consilia. Your Your feedback on intellectual property is very good at this particular juncture when we're trying to create brands, the brands that have a ripple effect in creating a very wonderful brand for Kenya, just creating that visibility for Kenya that we're not just known for runners, but we also have products that make sense in the different markets. Thank you so much for that. We are now heading to the last and final presenter of the day. I'll be introducing him in a few minutes. But before I do, let me just read two questions that have come in. One is directed to you, Consilia. What measures is KIPI taking to simplify and expedite the patent, trademark, and design registration processes, which many traders find to be costly, complex, and time-consuming, especially for startups? You can be able to go to the chat section and answer that, or just hold on to that particular answer. We are moving into the Q&A session. You can be able to answer that particular question. KRA, what measures is KRA taking to combat fraud and corruption in the export process to ensure a fair and transparent environment for all? And finally, Dr. Munywa asked, what is the position of KRA on single business permits levied by counties on professionals who have already paid for professional licenses to the central government? Can KRA do something on this double taxation? Some of those questions that are coming in, and we'll give you an opportunity to get the answers in the next session that is coming in after our final speaker, who is none other than Mr. Tobias Auma Alando, the acting CEO of Kenya Association of Manufacturers, who is an accomplished leader with over 17 years of experience in corporate vision, execution, public policy, development, and government relations, currently serving in the Kenya Association of Manufacturers as the CEO, where he has successfully enhanced operational efficiency, driven revenue growth, and spearheaded policy and research and advocacy. Karibu, Tobias, to make your remarks or your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Maureen, for the introduction for Tobias Alando. Just maybe to relay his apologies. He had to step into an urgent engagement. Primarily, we have been with the end of year for the members.
Abel,
Yes.
You're having feedback. I think you have two gadgets on. We're getting a lot of feedback.
Okay, let me try to see what I can do because I just have one Please confirm. I've made
I think it's still doing that. Yeah.
One device.
Maybe exit and come back in again. Then we see whether the... Okay. As Abel comes back, maybe we can look at some of the participants that are still joining us in to, we have Joseph Gitingi from Radhia Agro Farm. You have shared your contact details there. And we encourage participants to network. This is an opportunity to network, meet one another, and also, get to learn from each other what we are doing and how we can be able to venture into this business world and make some, some revenue from it. Ruth Mora from Glerian Limited. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have Edwin Mutune. You say you're eyeing CFTA market entry for cut flowers as well as fresh Fresh Vegetables. You've left your contact details. We have Valentine Wangoi from Buchati Blooms, Fresh Cut Flowers. Thank you, Consilia, for sharing your contact details. Yeah. Abel, are you back? Is Abel back? Kim Zhao is asking if there's anyone exporting fish. Thank you, Patrick Kaimenyi from SEA, for also joining us. As we wait for Abel, I want to call upon Charles Saminga to proceed to take some questions so that we can be able to allocate some of our speakers to answer the questions that have already been provided as we await for Abel. Charles Saminga, the floor is yours.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Maureen, for this opportunity. As I'm going to start on the Q&A session, I'd like to start with my first question with the commercial attaché of South Africa on a question asked about are there any upcoming Kenya-South Africa trade expos or events? Kindly, Jacqueline, please respond on this.
Thank you. About the upcoming South Africa Trade Expos or events, I have shared with, I think, Gathambo, correct me if that's not the right name, from Keproba. He was compiling for the events for 2025. I think from your side, you're better placed to share with the investors. Thank you.
Also, there's a second question for you, which says, when will we feel the real effect of the free trade zones when there's a multiple currency pegged on Western currencies, borders are still tough to cross and visas are still an issue? That is specifically to South Africa.
For the visas, we are on the visa-free regime up to 90 days. That one was sorted out. The other one was the multiple documents.
On the borders that they're still tough NTBs that between the borders, which affect our exporters to access the South African market.
Okay, we have been able to unlock issues at the Zambia borders. We always tell our importers who are coming down this side, we have always shared my numbers. Whoever who is bringing in anything, the issues that they experience, because the only areas that you have issues is at the Zambia border and the Botswana Kapfontein for those who are coming by road, and at the Wartambo airport. We've not had any in Durban so far, but we are always open. We are always able to unlock the issues that they experience at the borders, whether on health issues or custom-related issues.
Okay, thank you. That is for anyone who wants to contact Jacqueline, we shall share the contacts for the embassy so that you can be able to launch whatever you want to consult about. Then the next question comes to Kipi. Kipi, there's a question on what measures is Kipi taking to simplify and expedite the patent, trademark, and design registration processes, which many traders find to be costly, complex, and time-consuming, especially for startups.
Charles, I had answered that question on the chat, but maybe I can still maybe highlight. We are currently working on automating our processes so that our clients can be able to carry out online filing And also in terms of ease of doing business, we're also looking at reviewing some of the timelines that we have in terms of reviewing the various applications. So we believe that through this automation and considering the timelines for ease of doing business, that the processes are going to be much more easy. But if you have any challenges, maybe you filed an application and you're facing some challenge, kindly take my contacts. I'll be able to assist where I can.
Thank you. Thank you. I think Chief Moderator, Cam is on board, so let's give them a chance to continue on the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles. We'll get back to you to look at more questions. Abel, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. Please confirm whether the echo issue has been sorted. I think it was an issue with the room.
Yes, much clearer. Yes,
Okay,
much
thank
clearer.
you. And much apologies. I think it was the
Proceed.
issue with the room which I was using. So as I was starting, much apologies from our CEO. He has requested me to step in. He's had an urgent engagement which has just cropped up, but just for the introductions, I'm not Tobias Orlando. My name is Abel Kamau, the Trade and Policy Manager from the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. And I'll take us through Tobias's presentation. Specifically on the outlook of the manufacturing sector, specifically for the AfCFTA market, and with a specific focus on the South African market, which is the key focus for the day-to-day. So just getting my presentation up. Maureen, please confirm when you see it. So, Maureen, can you be able to see?
Abel, it's visible. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So for introduction purposes, Kenya Association of Manufacturers is a business membership organization, currently 65 years old, established in 1959 as a representative organization for the manufacturing sector. As such, our main work is around driving policy and advocacy. This is to ensure that we have a good and conducive business environment for the manufacturing sector. Over and above that, we do offer provide support services to our manufacturers. This is in form of technical support and assistance to support our manufacturers to be able to take up opportunities that exist within the manufacturing sector, both at the national and international levels. We offer our interventions to members and to manufacturers through clustered sectors. Currently, we do have 14 sectors, 13 of which are value-add sectors within the manufacturing sector. Then we do have a 14th sector, which is the service and consultancy sector, which is comprised of members who provide services to manufacturers. We do have 7 regional offices across the country. This is to bring our services closer to where most of the manufacturers are operating from. Specifically on our focus area and our purpose is to create prosperity for the nation through sustainable industrialization. And to do this, currently we are working on a bigger national strategy, a national vision, specifically for the manufacturing sector, which is the Vision 20 by 30, which wishes to increase the contribution of the manufacturing sector to GDP from 7.6% to 20% by the year 2030. And alongside it, create about 1 million extra jobs and increase value added from the current 8.5 billion USD to about 50 billion USD by the year 2030. So to achieve this vision, we are targeting and providing our interventions around 4 main pillars. One of the main pillars around it is export-led industrialization, And export-led industrialization is looking at how we could be able to, first of all, utilize the capacity, the manufacturing capacity that we have within the current manufacturing industries to export to markets that exist beyond our 50 million population, and also attract investments and capacity to be able to serve the markets that exist outside the region and outside the nation. So currently Kenya, as noted earlier by other presenters, including Keproba, Kenya has these many preferential market access regimes to various parts in the world, and it's about 50% of the world GDP. So Kenya has that duty-free, quota-free market access to about 50% of the world GDP, but we are not able to utilize it well. And for that specific element, KM is looking at export-led industrialization as a flagship pillar to enable us to be able to achieve that objective of optimization of those preferential market access opportunities over and above those other markets that exist beyond our borders. The other three pillars that we are looking around over and above the export-led industrialization is global competitiveness, SME-led growth, and agriculture for industry. So the year we've also been able to develop an export strategy, which tries to put into context the interventions and the ambitions of the manufacturing sector when it comes specifically to exports. And this strategy is heavily coined also with the ambitions that we had within the integrated national exports promotion and development strategy, which was developed and steered by Keproba. And under these, we are looking at growing the total exports of manufactured goods to about 805 billion shillings. So it's looking at increasing the exports from 805 billion to 1.8 trillion. So these are the specific ambitions that we had under NEBS. And for that specific component, we are looking at how we could grow the manufactured goods as part of the exports to 1 trillion by 2030. So the key drivers around these are cost competitiveness, ensuring that we are able to offer products that are price competitive in our various markets of concern and approach. If you're looking, for instance, at South Africa, we need to ensure that the products that we are selling into that market are able to compete, for instance, with the Chinese goods, with the European goods that are coming into that market. And that cost competitiveness, there are various metrics that we are looking at and trying to ensure that we have cost competitive inputs and a facilitative environment that enables us to have an optimal combination of the factors of production to be able to produce for the world. Then we're looking at optimization of the various trade agreements, including EAC, COMESA, TFTA, and ACFTA. Specifically, I think for the South African market, the ACFTA and the TFTA market comes out strongly as the key channels that will enable us to achieve market access, sustainable market access to the South African market. We're also looking at structuring our support to the manufacturing sector through an export center of excellence, value chain development to ensure that we do have products, actual products to export. Then lastly, ensuring that we have alignment with the future of trade and alignment with those emerging issues in modern trade. The presenters ahead of us, including KIPI, including Kentrade, and also KEBS, have highly highlighted about maybe such emerging issues in modern trade, such as sustainability, compliance, ensuring that we have sustainable trade, especially if you're looking at market access beyond the African continent. Maybe part of the KM incentives that we have towards preparing manufacturers for exports. And maybe just before I get to this, just to echo maybe what also Stephen Tioni from KRA talked about earlier. We already have manufacturers that are either exporting into the African market or importing raw materials from the African market into the Kenyan market. And we've had almost close to about 50 consignments that have been traded under ACFTA for the Kenyan, at least to the Kenyan market. And manufacturers are looking at the African market as an opportunity to really grow whatever they've been able to at least develop within the regional markets. So just to underscore the importance of the African market to the manufacturing sector, the EAC contributes to about 31% of the total external market to Kenya. Compounding these with the rest of the market access opportunities that we are already utilizing within the African continent, including COMESA, takes Africa to being a market of about 42% of whatever we export. So to the manufacturing sector, the African market provides the highest proceeds for growth, especially for MSMEs, when it comes to expanding market access outside the country. So part of what we've been doing around this is policy and advocacy on trade matters, including non-tariff barriers, trade negotiations, and export competitiveness. We do provide export trade advisory services. These are for the members that are looking at getting into cross-border trade. Being part of the ad hoc committee on ACFTA guided trade initiative and also part of the larger implementation committee, we've been able to support companies to be able to pick up the opportunities and the support services that exist within the trade facilitation agencies within that. Then we've been running a highly integrated series of capacity building and awareness sessions. Within the year 2024, we were running Bringing ACFTA Home, which was a series that had the ambitions of bringing the trade operationalization tools closer to the manufacturing sector and ensuring that they were able to pick up the opportunities that arose from this market. So just to underscore about maybe some of the outcomes of this Bringing ACFTA Home was that South Africa was came out as a high priority market for growth for the manufacturing sector, and for that reason, KM is also looking at the possibility of having a trade mission to South Africa next year, and hopefully, as we've done in the past, we'll be able to collaborate with KEPROBA and other trade facilitation agencies to execute these. Then we do also offer trade facilitation services, for instance, the Goa visas, duty remission schemes, among others. These are for the manufacturers that wish to pick up the various incentives frameworks and also trade facilitation services that are available for exporters. SME development comes out strongly, especially to ensure that our MSMEs are able to link up with bigger companies that are already exporting. So we all acknowledge that, especially for MSMEs, it's usually hard to get that first export order. And when they get it, executing it is not always smooth. And for that reason, the components of peer-to-peer learning and also embedment into already players that already exporting through SME development has come out as a critical tool to enable these SMEs to tap into these export markets. We also do have various trainings under the KM Manufacturing Academy, including various curriculums around export-led industrialization. This is specifically on trade operationalization of tools that are critical for export managers within various manufacturing firms. Then lastly, we do participate in various market exposure platforms, including expos and inward and outward missions. And for most of what we've already done, we've been able to partner with KEPROBA, the ministry, the State Department for Trade, plus other relevant MDAs within this context. So maybe the significance of the South African market to Kenya as a manufacturing nation is that South Africa currently is Kenya's largest trading partner in the SADC region, and for sure presents the highest possible proceeds for growth for the Kenyan manufacturers. And for that reason, we are looking at how we could support manufacturers to have access to these riding on the AfCFTA plus also by other bilateral engagements and support services that have been initiated by the government, and also our mission within our diplomatic presence and mission in South Africa. Then specifically, there was the TFTA, which came into force within this year, which further unlocks the South African market. It was noted earlier by Maureen that South Africa is about 3 times, the GDP is about 3 times that of Kenya, which presents a significant opportunity for manufacturers, especially those that are dealing with products that would be of high consumption within such a market. When South Africa, maybe for instance, provided its tariff offers, specifically under SACU, and they were accepted in January of 2024, we saw the first consignments under Guided Trade Initiative leaving South Africa on the 31st of January. And since then, we've seen these periodic exports that have been starting up, primarily taking advantage of the proceeds of AfCFTA. We expect that tripartite, the TFTA, will further provide these opportunities because of the enhanced trade liberalization schedule within the tripartite. Then lastly, South Africa is accessible via ocean, land, and air, unlike most of the other countries that we are looking at within AfCFTA, for instance, West Africa and North Africa. And the High Excellency, the Ambassador, has noted about the facilitations that the mission is providing, specifically on road transport, which is one of the major channels that are used by traders, especially in intra-African trade. Then the cultural similarities between the two regions at least make it easy for goods that are already being consumed in Kenya and DAC to be able to access the South African market. So just concluding around it is that we really appreciate this opportunity and this platform which has been created by KEPROBA, since South Africa should be considered as a priority market for the Kenyan private sector. This is because of, for instance, the trade barriers that have been reduced by AfCFTA and TFTA. So previously, manufacturers and exporters did have challenges accessing the South African market, primarily because of the high tariffs. So the tariff rates in South Africa were even as high as 45%, which made it challenging for companies to be able to access to those markets because they lost the price competitiveness bit of it due to the high tariffs. And this has been drastically addressed through AfCFTA. And we urge the private sector, manufacturers, exporters, aggregators for exports to make use of these services that exist within KEPROBA, within the State Department for Trade and KRA, to be able to export in South Africa. So one of the things that we've seen is that we still do have, even with AfCFTA being implemented, we still have companies that are exporting outside AfCFTA. So meaning that their products are not benefiting from the duty preferences just because of not trading under AfCFTA. And this means that you're not getting the price competitiveness that should be bestowed to us as signatories and state parties of AfCFTA. So we urge at least the private sector to take advantage of these support services, both at the public and the private sector, so that at least we can be able to move at least the needle when it comes specifically to exports. As noted earlier, some of the countries in AfCFTA have really gone further towards exporting. For instance, the consignments which have been facilitated by Egypt so far under AfCFTA have already clocked past 500 consignments. So technically about 10 times what Kenya has been able to do, and maybe collectively through public and private support, working as partners, we can be able to at least scale up whatever we are exporting as Kenya. So as a wind up, much appreciation to AfCFTA for this informative series, and we are looking forward towards having more of these in the future. In the recent past, we've had such informative series. For instance, for the textile sector, we had a similar one for the leather sector, and looking forward towards how we could continue doing the same, and at least working towards enhancing and improving the business environment within Kenya, and also supporting the manufacturers to take advantage of these many trade opportunities that we have. Thank you, and back to you, Maureen.
Okay. Thank you, Abel, for that informative session on what CAM is doing to support manufacturers and to also help in accessing the markets. You've talked about a lot of areas where our exporters can take advantage so that they can thrive in their businesses. Remember, you can be able to post your contact details, the speakers that have already spoken, so that you can be able to allow our participants to be able to engage with you further, even after this session is over. We need to move on to our final session, our last two sessions, which we had already begun the Q&A session led by Mr. Charles Saminga. I'll allow him to just take two more questions, which are really burning. And then from there, we'll move on to the way forward led by Ms. Christine Sitawa before we wrap up the session. It has been a pleasure moderating this session. I do hope that we have learned something and we will utilize the resources that have been provided today. Thank you to the Kenyan Embassy, led by Ambassador Jane Dorumo and her team. We really appreciate the insights that you'll be able to give us. And Kenya is ready to do business with South Africa. So for me, I want to beg adieu and allow my team to take over on the two questions for Q&A and Christine to wrap up as we also wrap up with a word of prayer. Thank you. Charles Amiga, take over.
Thank you, Maureen. I would like to start with a question from Ambassador Sunya CAM, which reads that contribution of export projections are encouraging, also ambitious. How do you intend to achieve this ambition? I think this should be in the perspective of a private sector. I think Abel will be able to answer this question from CAM.
Yes, maybe I can take it now, or we can take maybe some few other questions.
No, you can pick it now.
Okay, thanks. So I do agree that the ambitions are really high. For instance, if you look at the bigger ambition that the nation has on Vision 20 by 30, from moving the needle from 7.6% to 20% by 2030, it's really high. And to ensure that you're able to move it to that component, we acknowledge that you can't be able to move it getting the almost 60 million population in Kenya. And that is the reason as to why exports come out as a strong pillar of ensuring that you're able to drive industrialization to those levels that we are looking at. So maybe categorizing for instance, categorizing how we wish maybe to get into those ambitious figures of exports into two. One bit of it is that we are looking at addressing the issues of working jointly with government to address the issues that have been curtailing our exports historically. So the issues around cost competitiveness, issues around a facilitative policy environment, and others, just to ensure that we are able to at least unlock the chains that have been derailing manufacturers, especially when it comes to exporting. Maybe just for an example, if you look at the level of VAT refunds, which are owed to manufacturers. VAT refunds are usually provided whenever a manufacturer is able to export. The figures currently are sitting at around 16 billion, which is a really high figure, specifically looking at that amount of money being provided by manufacturers, for instance, in form of loans that were picked up or capital that was already sourced from various channels, but is locked up, for instance, in VAT refunds, creating challenges around liquidity. So there are a myriad of issues that we are hoping that we'll be able to address, for instance, in the ongoing business reforms agenda, which is being steered by the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. Then on the other end, there are those areas that we could collectively do as the private sector, as we also sort out, as we jointly work with the government to sort out the problems within the private sector, within the policy environment. And these include, for instance, issues such as aggressive market development, through business-to-business linkages, developing the right products for these markets, and the extensive work of ensuring that we have a consolidated approach towards getting Kenya and made in Kenya products out there in different markets. So it's really an ambitious program that cannot be done by KM alone, and it needs to be the larger national vision. So as the State Department for Trade and also KEPROBA work on revising the export strategy that propelled us through 2018 to 2023, we hope that these areas will be integrated in the renewed export strategy to enable us to achieve those big numbers. Thank you.
Thank you, Abel, for those insightful insights. And next question will be to KRA, to Mr. Tioni. There's a pressing question from the textile and apparel industry on the rules of origin, which reads, can we reappeal the rules of origin of apparels from 3 transformation to 1 transformation in Africa in all categories to boost the apparel industry and create impactful jobs, mitigate imports by competing with imports? Kindly elaborate on the rules of origin, potential reforms, and their implication on the textile industry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Charles, and thank you for the person who asked the question. This, as you saw that the rules of origin has not been concluded on textile because of such issues. Okay. Our state parties, some are proposing single transformation, some are proposing double transformation to support the value chains, some even triple transformation. So the whole issue of apparel is still under discussion. And I'm happy that CAM are here and they are participating. Our Ministry of Trade, who are chief negotiators, are also aware of the needs to support that industry. And I think going forward, as much as it is still early, because the rules have not been agreed upon, the issue being raised can be taken into for consideration during the negotiations. So for now, the rules of origin and the AfCFTA has not been agreed upon. Most of the tariff lines are not yet concluded. And those are the issues that are being discussed to support transformation, support our value chains. Then we need a double transformation, for instance. It is welcome that it is being taken into during our negotiations. My submission, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Tioni. Now I would like to wrap up on the Q&A session. Any other question that has not been answered, the feedback shall be answered to the respective questioning partners through KEPROBA, as our panelists will be able to answer them first before we submit them to you. Any question regarding on market intelligence reports, this one can be found on makeitkenya.go.ke website, as well as you can reach on us directly through our office email so that we can be able to respond to them. Thank you for this opportunity, and I'd like to humbly hand over to Ms. Christine Sitawa so that can give us a way forward from here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Charles. And thank you very much to the guests who have joined in this session. We've come to the end of our webinar, and my role is just to give you key takeaways from the webinar, as well as give our vote of thanks to our participants. So I'm sure you'll agree with me that this webinar has confirmed that indeed the AfCFTA offers transformative opportunity for Kenya's businesses, community, and as well as the continent, for us to be able to take advantage of the opportunities with the AfCFTA, to be able to export more, and to be able also to grow our economy. And we have also received a good affirmation from our private sector representation, who is Kenya Association of Manufacturers, who have actually identified that manufacturers have prioritized the South African market, especially under the tripartite free trade area, as well as the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And so with this in mind, and with the population of South Africa of about 64 million people, we realize that this is great potential for us to be able to expand, to be able to do business with the South African market, to be able to grow our economy, as well as provide value to our private sector. But all this requires coordinated efforts. We must prioritize value addition. And with that, we cannot achieve it on our own. We need to explore partnerships between private sectors, as well as the private sector institutions who are offering raw materials, and those engaged in value addition and manufacturing sector. We're also looking at harmonization and simplifying of trade processes. I think we've heard from our presenters from Kenya Revenue Authority, as well as Kentrade on the same. The issue of partnerships, I think I've mentioned that, collaboration in manufacturing and value addition. KEB's already informed us about innovation and adapting to best practices in product design and quality control. When you stay innovative, when you comply to the best practices, you can be able to attract financing. You can also be able to remain competitive in the market. And of course, tied to that is the issue of empowering businesses with the tools that they can be able to use to compete within the AfCFTA. The issue of automation has come out very strongly in our presentations, and especially from those who are facilitating our trade, the Kenya Revenue Authority, the Kentrade, and those who require businesses to file their documents online. So that means that businesses need to find ways to innovate, to adapt, so that they can be able to remain competitive in the markets and take advantage of this vast market that we've been presented. You see, we have the TFTA that has been launched and ratified, we have the AfCFTA, and so we need to stay at par with those of our competitors. So in the longer term, I see issues to do with the continued collaboration between exporters, businesses, manufacturers, and trade facilitators, because this is what is going to help us overcome the challenges that are faced by our exporters in accessing the AfCFTA market. In our presentation from the Kenyan Embassy in South Africa, I think they already mentioned the challenges that are facing exporters in accessing this market. We have issues to do with customs unions, different customs unions, but now we have the TFTA and AfCFTA. We have administrative barriers, but these are things which we can be able to work together as collaborators, as partners, and see how we can be able to support our businesses to expand into this market and take advantage of the opportunities. Of course, we encourage all of you to remain engaged. I think that's what I would say to end this, to remain engaged, and also to be innovative and committed to driving the vision of the African Continental Free Trade Area forward. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everyone who has participated. First and foremost, gratitude to our speakers and panelists for their insights, both private sector that has been represented very well by Kenya Association of Manufacturers, as well as the public sector represented by our partners, Kenya Institute of Kenya Intellectual Property, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, KenTrade, KEBS, KRA. We really thank you because you have really engaged even on our question and answer sessions, both on chat as well as verbally. Your contributions have really enriched our understanding, and I believe the audience would agree with me on that. And just how this agreement can be able to reshape our trade as well as our economic collaboration. Of course, a special thank you to our team from KEPROBA, who have organized this webinar. Of course, there's always the behind the scenes. Our technical teams, our admin staff, they ensure that everything runs smoothly. We do not take that for granted because you are the ones who have led to the success of this event. And lastly, to our audience, thank you for your active participation. And let's stay in touch. Let us make use of the contacts that have been shared by our partners here in this webinar, as well as on our various platforms. Thank you once again, and I want to wish you all a happy festive season, and we catch up again next year. Asanteni sana. Now I want to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Victor Odindo to close with a word of prayer.
Thank you, Sitawa, for the opportunity. So we conclude with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, we give you praise, we thank you, and we bless your holy name for the discussions that we've had, even as we continue seeking opportunities for the benefit of this nation. We are committing all these plans before thee, as all plans that we do have, oh God, if you do not go before us, they are all in vain. So even as we come to the tail end of this, we want to just commit each and every person who participated in this particular webinar before you, oh God, that even as we go to implement what we've discussed, indeed you're going to grant us the wisdom, knowledge required to be able to execute the various tasks in a way, God, that will glorify and magnify your holy name. And now may the peace which surpasses all understanding keep our hearts and minds in the knowledge of God and of his Son, Jesus Christ. And the blessings of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be upon us, together with our loved ones, now and forevermore. Amen.
Thank you all. You're now free to leave at your own pleasure. We meet again next year. Bye.